It's Brian Shannon from AlphaTrends.net. Today is Friday, the 19th of January, 2018. Hope you had a good week of trading. Let's talk about the markets and some Bitcoin as well. The equities, for the most part, were higher. Semiconductors off to a roaring start this year, up 9%. And I was actually surprised that they were that strong this week. But, don't fight the trend of the market, obviously. And it's better to be on the sidelines in cash than it is to be trying to fight something that is such a strong move. So looking at the chart of the S&P 500 first, we can see that Monday we gapped higher and then pulled back down right to the volume weighted average price from the January 10th low. On Tuesday or Monday evening, I posted something that said basically if the market continued lower on Wednesday, that I thought that maybe we would see a test of the year-to-date volume weighted average price. Well, instead, obviously, the buyers regained control and maintain that control as we closed right at another new all-time high for the S&P 500. So going into next week, what we'll be looking at as our first intermediate term level of potential support will be found right here at the volume weighted average price from this week, as well as that rising 5-day moving average. And then the second level to be aware of would be the volume weighted average price from this gap lower on the 10th. And finally, the year-to-date volume weighted average price. If we pull back down to that year-to-date volume weighted average price because we get some selling quick, I would suspect that we'll see a strong bounce from that level. Let me switch gears real quickly to the Bitcoin. We had our first official trades in Bitcoin this week for Alpha Trend subscribers. Let's talk about the intraday action here, looking at a 120-minute chart. Let me just resize that so we can see it. Here's the 120-minute chart. What we did was we ended up buying our first batch of it at 10,500. We sold a third of that at 11,650. We bought twice as much down at 990 and then sold some at 1150, and we have one third of our overall position left. Right now we have a stop at 10,550. That's lower, I'm sorry, that's higher than any price we paid for it, but now it seems as though momentum is slowing at this declining 5-day moving average. Going back to the daily time frame, the reason we looked at this area for a potential buy was, one, we had the 100-day moving average. Two, the last time we touched the 100-day moving average, I took a Fibonacci measurement off that, and you can see that the exact low was pretty much at a 61.8% retracement of the 100-day moving average. Priorly, we had looked at, and the last big bounce came from the test of the 50-day moving average. Let's show you what that looks like with a Fibonacci on here, and we can go in here. So from this low to the well, let me try that again, to the prior peak here, you saw that a 61.8% retracement occurred right here. That's the yellow, and that came right at the 50-day moving average. So it's pretty basic stuff that we're talking about here, the way that we're trading these cryptos. And buying the pullbacks is not the primary strategy. It's meant for about 40% of the overall cryptocurrency, crypto trading funds that you have allocated. The main focus of Alpha Trends is always going to be U.S. equities in terms of swing trades and low risk, high probability setups. So let's go back to the NASDAQ for a moment. It also finished at a new all-time high. Same kind of story here, that we saw the volume weighted average price from that gap lower on the 10th, found buyers pretty much to the penny right there on Tuesday for that first pullback, and then we maintained above the week to date volume weighted average price. So our key levels next week will be pretty much Thursday's low, which is right at that 5-day moving average, then the volume weighted average price from the 10th. After that, the year-to-date volume weighted average price. A quick pullback down to that, I would expect, should be bought. The Russell 2000 had a nice week as well. It was looking a little bit sketchy here because here's our week-to-date volume-weighted average price. This is where we started the week, of course, on Tuesday. And we saw a quick failure on Wednesday that came down, though, to the 5-day moving average. So we still give the benefit of the doubt to the buyers with a rising 5-day moving average, and they righted the ship here. You can see that we're still above the year-to-date volume-weighted average average price. And of course, the daily time frame where we came down to was this prior band of resistance that we broke away from. So the Russell 2000 path of least resistance continues to be higher here, although it's a much choppier market than we're seeing obviously in the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq. By the way, I haven't made a big fuss about it because that's not how I operate, but if you're interested in a subscription to Alpha Trends, I've got a sale going on right now through February 4th. To find out details on that, if you're interested, send an email to support@alphatrends.net. What you get is a gold subscription, normally $7.99 for the year for $5.99. I'll let you inquire more if you're interested in it. I'm not here to give anyone a hard sell. Semiconductors, as we mentioned, had a great week, adding to, doubling basically what they've done so far this year, and we are well above that rising 5-day moving average as well as the volume weighted average price for the week, and of course the year to date volume weighted average price we're above as well. So semiconductors are up at an all-time high. It's tough to be bearish when that happens. We're a little bit extended, so I wouldn't be looking for new money purchases up in here, but down near that 5-day moving average, maybe we get a pullback towards that next week, and that might be an area that gives us an opportunity for a lower risk entry. I update these levels every single day for subscribers to Alpha Trends. And finally, the biotechs. The biotechs are, they're shaping up. As I've mentioned, we're above the volume weighted average price from this peak. We're above the volume weighted average price from last year and from the peak that it saw in 2015. Let me just redraw that in because it's not anchored properly. But here we can see, we do have a choppy uptrend, but still an uptrend. The key here is not to try, for me at least, to try to capture this giant, this bigger move, but instead to be on the sidelines during the deeper pullbacks and look for the low risk entries. I think that next week, pullbacks down in towards this area, maybe something that looked like this would be a good scenario for the biotechs. That'll do it, I guess, for today. So thanks for tuning in and have a good weekend.